Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is week 2 of Hug It Out, and you have joined an online place to deeply connect and restore. My name is Jendi Watson, and I am a Hakomi therapist on Bainbridge Island. And Bainbridge is just a ferry ride away from Seattle, Washington. And as you know, we are in the red zone in COVID-19. Like a lot of the United States, actually, sadly now. So we started just last week, and it is amazing how things have changed so quickly in just a week. Last week, the schools had just closed for about 6 weeks. And so we started the homeschooling adventures, and instead I just took spring break and called it good. So this was, for me, my very first week of attempting homeschool land, and I love teachers. Let's just put it out there. I love teachers. They are so gifted in what they do. So yeah, that is some new business for us. Also, just yesterday, Governor Jay Inslee has required everyone to stay at home. So that's also very new. Additionally, the local parks have closed their parking lots because we have a lot of wanderers who are roaming the island. And here's a really bad joke, but I just have to say that we have to make like Rome and stay home. You're welcome. Bad humor today. So I am so thankful to have you tonight, knowing that we're all here together in this. And I am reminded of a Celtic saying that says, "We love in the shelter of each other." And that is so true, especially in times that are so difficult and trying. So in a moment, we are going to meet a Seattle-based trauma specialist. And before we do, there is a cheat sheet he is asking us to download. And the URL is, I believe, in the chat box. Hold on, let me double check to make sure that is actually true. So if you have a way to download it and print it, that's amazing. Otherwise, go ahead and grab a piece of paper and something to write with, and you'll be totally set up. So I did put the link in the chat box. So if you are new this week, the purpose of Hug It Out, which is happening every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Oh man, I'm just thinking about how many Wednesdays that might be, and I can't think too far past next week. I start getting a little nervous about that. So this is a place that we can deeply rely upon each other to come together. And this is a place that I truly needed. And long story short, I asked a handful of therapists and healers if they would be willing to gift their time to us to help us walk through COVID-19 together. And many said yes. So including tonight, we have several therapists and healers lined up who are giving their time to us. Hug It Out is a place for us to love and to connect in a time of physical isolation and hopefully not social isolation. And it is an anchor point in my week and hopefully in your week too, Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock. Anchors help us stop. Anchors help us know where we are, where we can come back into ourself, which lives deeply in our body. And we can stop to replenish ourselves. And it's an opportunity to learn something new. So if it feels right to you, we're going to just take a moment and come back to where we left off last week. And that is coming into your heart. And that is anywhere you experience where your heart is. And if it feels right, go ahead and take a few breaths into this area. If it feels right to close your eyes or bring your eyes into a low gaze, you are welcome to do that. We are in a new time together, and as a lot of our energy is outside of us throughout the day, caring for our children, caring for those who need to be cared for, carefully grocery shopping, carefully being well, it's time now to bring our attention inside to ourselves, calling yourself back. And if you're sitting or laying down, maybe simply noticing your body being held by the chair or by the floor or in your boat if you're at sea. Simply noticing the sensation of being held. Feeling fully supported, and maybe you can let yourself be held a little bit more, sinking further into your present moment. And maybe one last breath, and you're welcome to open your eyes. Just a moment to come here together. So I am so thankful for the healers and therapists who have said yes. And tonight we have the great honor of having a trauma specialist who is located in Seattle join us. His name is Brad Galvin, and his offers are quite unique. He offers half day, full day, and retreat style immersions for intensive healing and therapy. He specializes in gambling, alcohol, drug addictions, so any type of trauma. And the coolest part of what he's doing is that he loves it. So I would like to welcome Brad Galvin to Hug It Out. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you so much, Jendi. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a total delight to have you. So let's see here. Would you be willing to tell us a little bit about you? So I already gave, the little bit about what you do, but what do you love about your style and your method?
I think for me, EMDR has really changed my life, both personally and professionally. So I had known that it was really effective for folks just from other therapists and folks who had been using it. And I was even referring within my agency to other folks who had that experience. And then once I actually experienced it myself, that gave me an opportunity to really feel the power of it and feel how different I was after having had the experience. And so then I got trained in it myself, and it's just fit. It's fit for me the same way that meditation did years ago when I got into that. Yeah, So I'm just grateful to have found kind of my thing, and it's fun to get to do it, adapt it, because I do use it for folks with trauma, depression, and anxiety, but also to adapt it for use with gambling addiction and substance abuse. And often people medicate trauma with gambling or substance abuse or sex addiction or a number of different addictions. So it's great to have that as a tool, because people seem to respond pretty well to it.
Right, I hear that. And there's nothing better than being deeply impacted by it with your own experience of, whoa, this just rocked my world. This was incredibly healing for me, and I've got to share this. I've just got to share this with others.
Yes.
So, so in the therapy land, whenever someone says, oh, this person's an EMDR therapist, it's like, oh, okay. You know, it's like, it's just so well respected in the industry, but a lot of people don't know what EMDR stands for.
I'm glad that you asked.
They shouldn't know what it means. And so I'm curious if you'd be willing to share that with us.
Yeah, so EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it was originally created in the 1980s by Francine Shapiro for the treatment of single incident traumas. And basically, she had discovered that when she thought of something that was upsetting for her, that when she experienced moving her eyes back and forth, that it didn't bother her as much. And so she thought, I wonder if there's something to this. And so originally she developed what's called EMD. So she just used it to help a number of, I believe it was veterans in her original study in the late 80s. And just to desensitize these trauma triggers. And she found that by using eye movement, she was able to help folks not be as bothered by that. And so the idea for sort of how it works is that, for normal memories that aren't traumatic, rapid eye movement sleep or REM sleep is typically when we process those. But for traumatic memories, it really overwhelms our system. And so getting a good night's rest after a major trauma, we don't necessarily feel rested the next day and may not feel rested for weeks or months. So it's trauma is sort of like a Groundhog's Day sort of experience. And so what EMDR can do is, through the use of eye movements or other forms of what are called bilateral stimulation, it can help people to be able to process what their brain couldn't naturally process.
Wow, I love that she discovered this, just some random, I'm just going to move my eyes while I'm feeling a little crummy and just see what happens.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. It's quite beautiful. Well, so COVID-19, so we're in an interesting place where I'm sure people are asking you, what do I do? I'm overwhelmed. I'm hijacked a little bit, or maybe even a lot. I feel panicked. I feel fearful. Besides EMDR, I'm curious if there was a magic button that you could offer. I'm curious what that button would be for you. What would you be willing to share?
Well, I think, for me tonight sort of is that button, because for people to just get the experience of other forms of bilateral stimulation and things that they can do that don't actually require a therapist or don't require the use of eye movements. For me, I found that any form of left-right stimulation, whether I'm tapping on my legs or doing a butterfly hug or walking in, which we'll be talking about later today, provides so much peace. And, it gets me out of my left brain process of think more. And then when I think, I'm thinking about thinking, and my brain just it's like my prefrontal cortex is just about to explode. Whereas as soon as I can get into my body, which is why I love so much the work that you do with Hakomi and the internal family systems, is that, once I'm in my body now, so really any kind of exercise, any kind of way to disconnect, if we're getting, I know for me, I get hooked into what the latest information is on the news, and I think just paying attention to this thing that a friend once told me some years ago that I've never forgotten, which is, do the things that I think make me happy really make me happy? Look at those things, because often I'll think, oh, if I have a day to myself, what could be better than sit and eat, pizza and ice cream and watch Netflix all day? But when I actually check in about how I feel when I do that, I almost always feel far worse than I expect to feel. So just paying attention to those things, I think, is the best that we can do.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I would like to read really quickly. So on day 2 of homeschooling, my daughter wrote a packet of poems. Am I on video? Can you guys see this? So it's read poem, P-O-A-M. I don't know if you can even see me.
Mm-hmm.
P-O-A-M. And so there's 6 poems in here. And this is day 2. And she wrote, 162, I don't know what to do. So I tied shoes because I didn't know what to do. She's 8. She's such a little cutie. And then 2 poems later, she wrote, I have a song that needs to be sung. And so I sang that song. That sang back. And then I had a lovely day. And it
That's
reminds
awesome.
me of how much I've really enjoyed reconnecting with you. And I hope you don't mind me telling the audience that Brad and I were junior high sweethearts.
I don't mind.
Sure how many years ago that was, because, we're still 23 and a half.
That's right.
But, 7th grade, we were boyfriend, girlfriend, and I still remember how sweet that time was.
Mm-hmm.
And now the song we're singing is just totally dorking out about healing and therapy and connecting in this new way. So I've been really filled up talking with you about this and learning about EMDR. So I would like to hand it over to you, if that's okay, so we can experience your gift.
Awesome. Well,
Cool.
Thank you. Well, I just want to, first of all, acknowledge just the beauty of being able to experience what Jendi did last week. And so if you didn't get a chance to listen to that mindfulness, I did that earlier today, and I felt very still and calm and at peace. And so Jendi really has a gift. And I'm not just saying that because we were boyfriend and girlfriend in junior high. But what I want to do is, and I may be chewing gum off and on because I find that I've had a bit of a cough since like early January. So forgive me if I'm chewing gum off and on while I share this with you guys. One thing that I want to do, because it's interesting as a therapist, we have a lot of rules and laws and things that we have to follow. And so I really want what Jendi and I are creating today to just be super clean. And so there's no issue with other people sharing it, because this is really meant to be a gift for people for whom it resonates to be able to use this. And so in light of that, I have to read a little disclaimer. So trust me, it'll get better from here. But this video is provided for educational and informational purposes only, and should in no way be understood to constitute a medical or mental health treatment of any kind. I understand that my viewing these educational videos does not create a psychotherapist-client relationship with me, Brad Galvin, or I could maybe say also for Jendi Watson. I understand that Brad and Jendi will provide me with referral resources to an appropriate healthcare provider if I request such a referral, or if they recognize my need for such a referral. So I did actually hesitate whether to share that, but I think in the bigger picture, knowing that this is something that can be passed around, I think is really important. So I want to share one other quote, just generally. So for me, so EMDR was originally created, as I mentioned, to process through traumas. And it's been adapted over the years. And one of the beautiful things that Francine Shapiro, the founder of this method, has said from the beginning is use it, adapt it, make it yours. And so people have really done that. And there have been many leaders in this field who've taken the basic nuts and bolts of what Francine created and added to it. And one of the main ways that this was done was through realizing that eye movements, so following, essentially following a therapist's finger back and forth while you're thinking of traumatic memories, and as a way to lessen how upset you are, that has actually been able to be adapted to other forms of bilateral stimulation, so other forms of left-right stimulation. And one way that this has been used, which I just am so in love with, is resourcing. And so resourcing is basically taking things, pleasant experiences, pleasant memories. It could be people who we know, it could be people from our imagination, movie characters, anything that we feel really good about, and just imagining that person or thing and adding bilateral stimulation to it to deepen our experience of that. So it's really taken what we think of as EMDR in terms of trauma processing and adapted it to be used for a much wider audience. And so for me, what I love about it too is I'm able to teach not just people who are trained in EMDR to use this technique, but also any kind of counselor, and even folks who aren't counselors, to be able to use this themselves. And so this can be great for kids and stuff like that. So I want to read just a little quote by one of the people who've really taken EMDR and made it more robust and more beautiful even than it was when it was first discovered. And this is a man by the name of Phil Manfield. And he says, with resourcing, we go beyond thinking about something positive to actually inhabiting the positive experience intensely. Not just thinking of the resource, but experiencing the resource as real. And I think for me, that is really what the power of resourcing is, and why I'm so excited to get to share this with you guys. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you guys through this, and I'm working from a script because I wanna make sure that the version of this you have is really clean and has all the details that you need. So this is about creating a peaceful place. And we know that imagining a peaceful place can help us to feel calm. Just focusing on it can be a relaxing experience. We know now that adding side-to-side movement while imagining such a peaceful place deepens the experience for us. This movement, called bilateral stimulation, activates brain and body so that we really feel the tranquility of this place. So we are now going to transition into the guided portion of today's exercise. Feel free to write down your answers on the cheat sheet, or simply to answer the questions in your mind. If you don't have the cheat sheet in front of you, it'll be pretty clear, and you can just take a piece of paper and write this stuff down. So no panic if you don't have the cheat sheet. So once we create our peaceful place, we're gonna add bilateral stimulation to deepen it. So some of the things I'm gonna be repeating because I find it's helpful for learning to hear something more than once. So bilateral means both sides. Stimulation essentially means doing something. So bilateral stimulation means we are doing something to both sides of the body. So bilateral stimulation is really cool because it lights up both sides of our brain, so our left and our right brain, the parts related to our bodies, to our memories, language, and emotions. So we add bilateral stimulation when imagining our peaceful place so that we can feel it deeply by getting our whole brain involved. So Today we're going to learn two forms of bilateral stimulation, and you can choose which one you like the best. You might choose to do both of them together. Sometimes clients like to do that, and that's great. So the first one is called the butterfly hug, and I'll try to sit in a way where you can see this. So what we're going to do, we're going to do this together. And so first, if you open both of your palms and then you turn them to face you, then interlock your thumbs together and you're making kind of a butterfly, okay? And then what you do is you take that towards your chest so that your two thumbs are really kind of at the base of your neck there, and your palms are crossed on the upper part of your chest, and there's a hole that indents just above your pec muscle and below your collarbone, close to either shoulder. And if you can kind of feel in there, that's a good spot. We can just rub right there. It can be kind of calming. And then what we do for our bilateral stimulation is that we tap. So we say one tap, so left, right, so just 1, 2, 1, 2, about 1 per second. Okay, so that is the butterfly hug. And the second form of bilateral stimulation is called walking in. So what you do is you just put your feet flat on the floor, and you lift your right heel while keeping your toes flat on the floor. So you lift your right heel and then you drop it, and then you lift your left heel and you drop it. And you just do this about the same pace as with the butterfly hug. Right, left, about 1 per second. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so there are many forms of bilateral stimulation, and I'd be happy to talk to you about some other ones at the end of our video. But for now, just choose one of those, or if you like both of them, you can do both of them together. And just keep that in mind, because we'll be using that as we continue. So let's take a moment and close your eyes and go inside. Maybe take a deep breath and take a few moments to identify a peaceful place. It could be real or imagined. It might be somewhere from childhood, a fond memory. It might be from a fantastic dream you had. It could be a place in nature. Mountain, beach. It could be a cozy chair. Just be sure that the place brings you only pleasant feelings without any negativity there. And we'll take just a few moments now to come up with a rough sketch of our peaceful place. So let's notice our 5 senses. Notice what you experience in this place. So your sense of sight. What do you see as you look around? Are there trees, mountains? Are you looking out a window into a forest? Do you see paintings on the wall in a favorite room? What do you see? And smell. What do you smell? The sense of smell is a very powerful sense. Have you ever noticed the scent of something you haven't smelled in years, and it just takes you back in a good way. You may smell cedar, the salt air, lavender, rosemary, seaweed, earth. What do you smell? Touch. What do you feel on your skin? Is it hot or cool? Is it wet or dry? You may notice the feel of sand, dirt, wet grass between your toes, the softness of a comfy blanket. What do you feel on your skin? Taste. Is there a certain flavor you can taste? Maybe you're sipping a coconut or pineapple drink. Maybe you're chewing juicy fruit gum. Maybe you have the flavor of salmon, of crab, of fry bread. What flavor do you notice in your peaceful place? Sound. What do you hear? It may be waves crashing, fire crackling, the sound of children's laughter, the wind. What do you hear? And now for a spiritual being. What spiritual being or beings would you like to be here with you? It could be a spirit animal, an ancestral guide, an angel, creator, God, or a higher power, however you imagine it. It could be a sacred force, the spirit of a holy person. Imagine this energy surrounding you, protecting you, nurturing you, giving you strength and peace. And emotions. What emotions do you notice as you think of your peaceful place with this spiritual energy with you? You may feel happiness, peace, relaxation, relief, comfort, bliss. What do you feel being here at your peaceful place? Body sensations. As you think of this peaceful place, what do you notice in your body? Your jaw and shoulders may feel relaxed. Your heart may feel light. Your mind may feel still. You may notice that your breathing is deep and even. What do you notice in your body? And now, choose a cue word or two to describe this place. You may call it peaceful mountain, childhood forest, stream, the ballpark. Choose words that are meaningful for you and that can easily call to mind this peaceful place. Now, I want you to call to mind your peaceful place using the cue word or words that you chose. If your eyes were open, go ahead and close them if that's comfortable for you. And if it's not comfortable, you can keep your eyes slightly open and gaze down at the floor in front of you. Repeat the cue words to yourself while thinking about the details of your peaceful place. Notice your 5 senses, what it's like to be in your body in this place. Notice your spiritual being, your pleasant emotions, and body sensations. Now that you're feeling this fully, let's walk that in or tap that in with the butterfly hug, whichever you prefer. So just left, right, at about that pace, about 1 per second, left, right. And as you continue with this bilateral stimulation, repeat your cue words to yourself and imagine your peaceful place vividly with your 5 senses. Notice what you see looking all around. Notice what you smell, those pleasant scents that warm your heart. Notice your sense of touch, all the things that come in contact with your skin. Notice what you taste, those enjoyable flavors that soothe you. And notice what you hear, those sounds that resonate deep within you. Notice your spiritual being there with you, supporting you, nurturing you, filling you with good energy. Notice the pleasant emotions you feel. They fill you with ease. Notice the sense of calm you feel in your body. Allow yourself to relax deeply into this place, repeating your cue words and walking or tapping it in. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And another deep breath in and a long breath out. And one last deep breath in and a long breath out, allowing your lungs to deflate all the way like a balloon. And if your eyes were closed, you may gently open them now and return to an awareness of the room around you. Now, you have an opportunity to practice using your peaceful place. So think about a time in the past couple weeks when you felt a little bit upset, not too upset. For example, it could be a time when someone tailgated you in the car, you got some disappointing news, or someone ignored you. It should bother you at a level of 3 out of 10 or less as you think about it now. So with 10 being the most upset you could be, 0 being not upset at all, we want it to be about a 3 or less. So just take a moment to come up with that recent upsetting situation. And just notice that little irritation and how it bothers you. So we're just connecting with a little bit of the discomfort that we feel about that recent upsetting situation. And then next, close your eyes and go inside. And notice the shift that happens as you bring to mind your peaceful place using your cue words. Notice as the little irritation you feel shifts to the pleasant feelings you experience in your peaceful place. Once you feel that shift, tap that in or walk that in to deepen your experience of it. Repeating your cue words to yourself and continuing to tap or walk, notice what you see there in your peaceful place. Notice what you smell, what you feel on your skin. Notice what you taste. Notice what you hear, the sounds around you. See and really feel your spiritual being there with you. Notice the pleasant emotions that you feel. Notice the sense of calm you feel in your body. Allow yourself to relax into it and feel this shift with all your senses. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And another deep breath in and a long breath out. And one last deep breath in and a long breath out. Deflate the balloon all the way. If your eyes were closed, you may gently open them now and return to an awareness of the room around you. Now, we will have the opportunity to practice that shift again with a situation in the present. So think about something happening in your life now that when you think about it, you feel a little bit upset. So choose something small, not terribly upsetting. Again, it should be a 3 out of 10 or less. So it's there, but it's not super, super bothersome. Just notice that little irritation and how it bothers you. And now close your eyes and go inside. Notice the shift that happens as you bring to mind your peaceful place using your cue words. Notice as the little irritation that you feel shifts to the pleasant feelings you experience in your peaceful place. Once you feel that shift, tap that in or walk that in to deepen your experience of it. Repeating your cue words to yourself and continuing to tap or walk, notice what you see there in your peaceful place. Notice what you smell, what you feel on your skin. Notice what you taste. Notice the sounds that you hear. See and feel your spiritual being there with you. Notice the pleasant emotions that you feel. Notice the sense of calm that you feel in your body. Allow yourself to relax into it and feel this shift with all your senses. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And another deep breath in and a long breath out. And one last deep breath in and a long breath out, deflating the balloon all the way. And if your eyes were closed, you may gently open them now and return to an awareness of the room around you. So we have one more opportunity to practice that shift again, only this time with an upsetting situation in the near future. So think about something that you have coming up in the next couple of weeks that sort of bothers you when you think about it. So again, it should be at a level of 3 out of 10 or less. So it could be a conversation that you need to have that you aren't looking forward to. It could be something boring that you have to do. Whatever that thing is, just a minor irritation. Again, something in the next couple weeks that bothers you a little bit when you think about it. So notice that little irritation. And this time, you will have an opportunity to practice the shift without my guidance. So you will repeat the cue words to yourself and tap it in or walk it in while you imagine your peaceful place with your 5 senses, your spiritual being, the emotions and body sensations that come up with your peaceful place. So you'll be fully there in your peaceful place. And you will continue doing this as long as it feels positive. So if it becomes negative at any time, simply stop and wait for me to resume speaking in a few moments. After a minute or so, when you're done, you can do some deep breaths and then open your eyes. So close your eyes, go inside, and guide yourself in this shift from this near future stressor to your peaceful place. Okay, so let's together take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And another deep breath in and a long breath out. And one last deep breath in and a long breath out. Exhaling all the way out. Okay. If your eyes were closed, you may gently open them now and return to an awareness of the room around you. So this is something that you can also rehearse with other situations, past, present, and future, that may be bothersome for you. And I just want you to also take a moment to congratulate yourself for participating in this. You've created something that you can go back to. I recommend that you do it at least daily just to kind of strengthen that muscle. And just by calling to mind your cue words and adding the bilateral stimulation, anytime you're upset, but really at any time, and just immerse yourself in this place. One of the gifts of having this time where we are more isolated, is there are more opportunities for quiet and for peace. And so, yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Brad, so much. What a rich experience, and what a lovely way to be guided late into the evening on Wednesday. Thank you. I'm curious if anyone listening would want to share their experience with us. We have time for possibly one person.
I just want to share that.
Hi, Kimberly.
Hi.
Hi, honey.
I just wanted to share that I had some new information come to me about this place that I have visited before, but understanding kind of the roots of it, and was surprised by that. It's camping as a child, as with my parents, and was really able to hone in on what those characteristics were, that the positive triggers. And then my wording was my real home. And I was surprised by how these irritations drifted away, and I was able to unblend and get distance from. And then the last thing I wanted to say was the tapping is a rhythm to me, and it's as if I'm being held like a child again. We have so many rhythms in the body that are nourishing and healing. This was self-induced while trying to anchor that positive experience, and it allowed me to separate. So I got it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's so great. Yeah, it's really, once we get out of our left brain, like we spend so much time in what I call our left brain, our analytical mind, that, it's like we forget that there's this whole other world there, because our left brain by nature is not really concerned so much about touchy-feely stuff. I mean, I'm really simplifying things, but in a nutshell, that's kind of it. And I find for me, when I tap into that, certain things come up that my left brain could have never anticipated, because it's a different plane of existence, or kind of a different reality. It's a deeper reality. And it's interesting because what you said, there's some people that theorize that this our sensitivity to bilateral stimulation is really linked to being in the womb, and our mother's walking, our mother's breathing, our mother's heartbeat, that is just part of us. And so so it's cool that resonated with you, your memories of yourself as a young child, and having that, because I think it goes way back for us.
Thank you, Kimberly. What a rich experience. What a sweet way of coming home. I had a very similar experience, that I just had this beautiful sense of calm, and originally I was tucked into my home. Safety is a big thing for me. So I was like, everywhere I suggested, it was like, no, 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 boom, in my home. And then when you brought in the spiritual beings, it was, first it was my black cat, Gizmo, that came forward. And then I was surrounded by a lot of spiritual beings behind me. And I'm in my house with my fireplace blazing, because there's nothing better, with a good cup of black coffee. And then suddenly, that was like a stamp, kind of this idea of being safe. And then I was lifted out into a clearing of the woods, surrounded by the same beings, with frogs in the background, because I'm here now. And just honestly, being in that place alone was such a gift to me. And then the other stuff was just a cherry on top of being able to use this beautiful clearing in the woods as safety. So I appreciate that great gift you just gave me and us. Thank you for being willing to come tonight and share with us. Yeah.
It's a pleasure. And I just want to offer, not so much as a plug for my business, but just for people who want to reach out. I mean, I love this stuff. I live and breathe it. It's my life. And so, I mean, if you're interested, I'm in Seattle at Brief Therapy Works. So feel free to reach out to me through my website. And I just, I love talking about this. I love supporting people, whether we end up working together professionally or not. But just for people, even to get linked up with others who do similar work to what I do and to what Jendi does. I mean, I think it's really important, and there's such a need. And there's actually a book called The Trauma of Everyday Life. And I think it's really, it's a powerful book, but the title kind of says it all. There's so much that we deal with just in our day-to-day lives, even when we aren't dealing with the coronavirus and these kind of macro level issues. So, we need the support. And so I'm happy to just be a resource for people.
Thank you for being willing to do that. So your information is up on the chat box right now, but it's Brad Galvin, brieftherapyworks.com. And then it's also on my website, and it will be posted when this video goes live again in the recording. So thank you so much. Man, I wish we had more time with you, Brad. Maybe you'll come on again. We'll see how many weeks we hang out.
Yeah, we might be here for a while, yeah, so we'll see.
We'll see what happens around these parts, day at a time, a moment at a time. So I appreciate that presence that you're offering us.
Thank you. I'd love to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, happy to help out.
Delightful. So let's see here. Next week, we are bringing in, I still don't know if I should say I or we, but joining us next week, we have a fabulous healer, and she's a movement healer. She is also a professional clinical herbalist. She has a master's degree in Chinese medicine, and she's a teacher of therapeutic movement, including Pilates, gyrotonics, and medical Qigong, which I'm super excited about. I've been going to her privately for one-on-one gyrotonic lessons and also Chinese herbs, and she's an amazing person, but also an incredible healer. So she will be here next week with us. Her name is Abby Rappaport, and that is a great treat for us. In closing, Brad and I would like to share with you a quote from Hafiz. I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Be well. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Jendi.
Thank you, Jendi.
Thank you.